These are this afternoon's top stories. 64th OECS Authority meeting on the way, mental health, depression and suicide targeted in Guyana, and China-South Korea relations fray over missile system. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, the 3rd of March 2017. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, leaders from across the region are in St. Kitts today for the 64th meeting of the OECS Authority. The event began on Friday with an opening ceremony at the Marriott Resort, chaired by OECS Commissioner for St. Kitts Nevis, Sydney Osborne. It kicks off a series of discussions focused on numerous issues such as reducing spending, crime, foreign affairs and aviation, and climate change. During his brief remarks, Director General of the OECS Commission, Dr. Dedicus Jules, spoke of the importance of pooling regional resources to tackle common challenges. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, delivered the feature address. He noted that the discussions must take into account recent developments on the international scene. The OECS Authority meeting is one of 3 high-level regional meetings taking place in the Federation this week. On Wednesday, government ministers, opposition leaders and other stakeholders took part in the OECS Growth Forum, and regional finance ministers wrapped up the OECS Monetary Council meeting on Thursday. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris says no one can deny the fact that good things are happening in the delivery of healthcare in St. Kitts and Nevis under the government of national unity. During Tuesday's Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity Town Hall meeting at the Sadler's Primary School, Prime Minister Harris noted that as of December 2016, more than 400 persons benefited from magnetic resonance imaging or MRI scans at the St. Kitts Biomedical Research Foundation at Buria Estate.
Never happened before. We have saved them the cost of travel, the inconvenience of travel, and all the associated expenses. And would you believe that even people coming off the cruise ship to go for MRI services right here in St. Kitts? Guests at the Marriott have left there to go to MRI services right here in Lower Buria in St. Kitts.
He also spoke of plans to launch a national health insurance scheme by 2018.
But equally important for me is the fact that by next year we will have introduced a national insurance health scheme so that everyone, regardless of age, class, color, creed, or gender, will be able to go to a doctor, pull out the insurance card, and that will be enough to take care of their treatment and care.
Prime Minister Harris noted that while the government remains committed to providing the necessary healthcare services for every citizen, the responsibility for one's health rests in one's own hands.
If you could prevent it, to proper eating, to proper exercise, to restraint with alcohol, and taking good care of your life, it is better than having to pay the price of curing for the ailment. And that is why we spend fantastic sum bringing in the specialists, recruiting people to come help us, because as a small country of limited resources, we will never have all the specialities that we need homegrown.
A team in the entomology field is cataloging the various species of beetles and other invertebrates that are present in several unique locations in St. Kitts and Nevis. We hear more in this SKNIS report.
We will be taking that information and putting it into the scientific literature and getting official scientific names on species and discovering what occurs here that doesn't occur anywhere else.
That was one of the key messages of Professor Mike Ivey when he shared with students from several primary and secondary schools attending an open day for the Conserving Biodiversity Project held on Wednesday, March 1 at the Agriculture Department. Professor Ivey and his team from Montana State University in the United States are busy snaring various bugs and beetles while working alongside agencies including the Department of Environment and the St. Kitts Forest Rangers. Professor Ivy said any changes to the environmental landscape, no matter how small, can have a significant impact, which makes it important to identify and protect special areas where there is a unique biodiversity.
When we lose a hectare of land to development or something here, it could be, if it's placed in the wrong place, very important to global biodiversity. Much more important than a random hectare of forest in the Congo or in the Amazon of Brazil, where they have a lot of species, way more species than we have here, but those species are very widespread and they're on tens of thousands of square kilometers. So you lose a hectare, it doesn't really affect it. Here, those things only occur in a very narrow area, and so therefore they're very important globally, and they need to be documented, explained, and then celebrated and protected.
The project falls under the umbrella of the United Nations Development Programme and is funded by the Global Environment Facility. The habitats being surveyed are the Central Forest Reserve National Park, Nevis Peak, Camps River, and the Booby Island Nature Reserve. The flora and fauna in these areas, as well as those fitting the reptile classification, are being catalogued by different teams.
We're doing the project on behalf of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis to establish protected areas and the Protected Areas Agency.
Claudia Drew is coordinating the local project.
It's important for us to conserve our biodiversity because we have to ensure that we have measures in place against climate change and the impacts of climate change, and also for us to continue to have a pristine environment, because I think one of our main industries is tourism. And obviously, tourists doesn't want to come to something that's unkept, that's, degraded. And that's what the emphasis is, to reduce our impact on the environment and reduce the level of degradation.
Some of the students admitted that they weren't quite sure what to expect at the open day, but said they learned quite a bit.
I learned about the global warming and the climate changing to the earth, and I learned about the natural habitats.
It's a very good experience and ways you can learn things. So if you don't do agriculture science, you get to like it because you realize what you're doing in agriculture and it becomes easier. So you will like it. So I would like for you to come on out and visit.
It will be interesting for them to come here, and a big opportunity because when we see insects, it's a different thing that comes to mind. But what I've learned here today with the insects, they have a purpose for life, just like how we have a purpose for life.
The Conserving Biodiversity Project is a 4-year project and is expected to conclude in 2018. I'm Ian Richards of the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, reporting for ZIZ News.
Moving on to news on the regional scene, a recent study has found depression to be the main cause of suicide, leading to other troubling issues such as mental disorders. Ayana George spoke with a leading mental health practitioner in Guyana.
Clinical evaluations to identify red flags in patients with depression are to be extended to medical facilities and schools throughout Guyana. The aim is to assist persons with depression, especially adolescents. Senior psychologist within the Ministry of Public Health, Mr. Balogun Ashunbihi, explained his findings on depression.
We just completed in November last year a series of interventions. The project was called Psychosocial Strategic Interventions for Adolescents, in which we went into the schools and we choose different topics, conduct disorders and other mental challenges that may be there, as a way of educating and bringing awareness that if you have these conditions, or you feel depressed, or you are one of those who harm yourself by cutting your hands, this is how you can access help and so on.
Mr. Ashunbihi says the Psychosocial Strategic Intervention for Adolescent program places special emphasis on schools across Guyana, adding that social workers and specialists will be assigned to deal with any signs of mental disorder.
NCN and the Guyana Psychological Association and us here, the Mental Health Unit, along with Social Protection, we came together and we thought we should reach the children where they are in that environment. The program, I must say, was highly successful. All the stakeholders and most of the feedback we got from the principals and the students themselves, it was highly successful. So there's going to be part 2 of this program.
A second phase of the program is expected to commence in September.
One of the community leaders said there is that Region 6 is the capital of suicide in Guyana. And to paraphrase him, Blackbush Port is the capital of Region 6 as regards to suicide. And what they say to us is that in the community, they know where the challenges are. They know what people are facing. However, the vast majority of times, it goes unreported until and when that person commits suicide.
He added that the sociocultural challenges affects how persons may access care, and the mental health unit upkeeps its trained staff across the regions of Guyana. For HGP Nightly News, Ayana George.
In St. Lucia, a political tug-of-war erupted over the suspension of the national initiative to create employment, or the NICE project. We hear more in this HTS St. Lucia report.
The National Initiative to Create Employment, NICE project, was established under the previous administration to, quote, generate sustainable employment opportunities with a 2012 to 2015 lifespan. NICE was extended and additional programs were included. More than 2,000 St. Lucians gained employment and earned income from NICE. Over $80 million taxpayer dollars and grants has been spent on NICE, designed to improve national employment numbers. Philip J. Pierre is the leader of the opposition.
The NICE was targeted at reducing unemployment, and that is the key. It was what the economist calls market intervention in the labor market. That's exactly what it was.
But at whose cost?
At the cost of, because there's a cost to everything. There's a cost to the audit report. There's a cost to Ernst and Young. There's a cost to traveling. But we thought that cost was necessary to get people off the streets. At the same time, teach them a skill.
As of March 31st, 2017, NICE will be placed on hold by the Alan Chasney-led cabinet due to the program's cost and issues with implementation and perceived imbalances. While not discounting the concept of the NICE project, Minister of Equity Leonard Montoute alleges NICE was a political ploy. The Equity Minister made the assertion on a local daily talk show on March 1st.
NICE was a Labour Party agency, and there was no need for NICE because we had the St. Lucia Social Development Fund that was established to do every single thing that is stated on the objectives of NICE.
All NICE enrollees have received non-renewal letters. The Office of the Prime Minister did give assurances that an unspecified number of home help attendants and the Home Help Caregivers program under NICE will be retained. Still, over 1,000 will be out of work. The Equity Minister is not anticipating backlash.
What political fallout? I mean, and I'm going to make another statement again that cannot be refuted. Over 90% of the employees in NICE are Labour Party supporters.
They are St. Lucians?
Yes, they are. But are they the only St. Lucians? Now, you will want to say that we all do it. And I can sit here and say, as a former Minister for Social Services, Mr. Joachim Henry, a current Labour Party candidate, was the executive director during my time. You can ask him whether I interfered to any extent in determining who was targeted, who was employed. And check the employees at SSDF and you will get your answer.
The opposition has sounded the victimization horn.
But the problem in this government, everything, they have to find a political angle and to blame the Labour Party. That is the problem. The government is not honest with the people of St. Lucia. Come to the people and tell them that is the issue. But don't look for all sorts of flashing mirrors. It wasn't the concept and all kinds of, and the evidence is clear. The evidence is there. And now, when they are caught, then they say that, oh, they're going to keep the home care workers when they're caught. But the original letters, all right, question. If you're going to keep the home care workers, why do you issue them letters of dismissal? That's the question. The ultimate aim of the government was to victimize supporters of the United Workers' Party who, according to the Minister of Equity, 90% of them are Labour Party supporters.
The Office of the Prime Minister has not specified the anticipated duration of the NICE review period. The Prime Minister is expected to shed light on the future of the NICE project during the budget address in April. Rihani Isidore, HTS News Force.
Moving on to news on the international scene, the embattled U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says he won't oversee any investigation into alleged ties between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the Russian government. His announcement came after he was accused of lying at his confirmation hearing about meetings with Russia's ambassador. Al Jazeera's Kimberly Hackett reports from Virginia.
At a hastily called news conference, the U.S. Attorney General told reporters he would not oversee the investigation into alleged ties between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the Russian government.
I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
The announcement comes after a day of controversy. At issue, revelations he met twice with the Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak. But in a January confirmation hearing to be America's top lawyer, under oath, he denied those meetings took place.
I didn't not have communications with the Russians.
On Thursday, Sessions maintained no wrongdoing.
Let me be clear. I never had meetings with Russian operatives or Russian intermediaries about the Trump campaign.
Sessions is the latest high-ranking official in the Trump administration under scrutiny for contact with the Russian ambassador. Last month, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigned for misrepresenting his conversations with Kislyak. In a statement, Trump called the accusations against Sessions a political witch hunt. And on a tour of a new aircraft carrier, the president said he remained satisfied with his attorney general.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in the attorney general, sir? Total.
But the same cannot be said for Sessions' Democratic critics, who believe this is not a political issue, but also a question of whether America's top lawyer broke the very law he's sworn to uphold.
There is enough doubt about whether Senator Sessions told the truth at his hearing to have an investigation of it. And the standard for remaining Attorney General is not just did you break the law. You have to be above reproach.
Donald Trump attempted to shift focus away from the negative press surrounding Jeff Sessions to the issue of job creation here in Virginia. But Democrats say that recusal is not enough and are now calling for the resignation of the Attorney General. Kimberly Helkin, Al Jazeera, Newport News, Virginia.
South Korean stocks fell on reports that some Chinese tour operators are joining a boycott and stopping trips to the country. Tensions between Seoul and Beijing have risen over the deployment of a South Korean missile system. Beijing says the system is targeted at China, but Seoul says it is designed to prevent attacks from North Korea. We hear more in this report.
The protests in South Korea have so far been largely peaceful. There have also been smaller demonstrations in China where the government's opposition to the anti-missile system South Korea wants to deploy is hardening.
We strongly urge relevant parties to stop the deployment of the THAAD system in order to avoid further damage to China-South Korea relations, as well as both countries' economic, trade and cultural cooperation.
South Korea's government believes the US-made high-altitude anti-ballistic missile system offers protection against potential North Korean attack. But China's leadership says it'll threaten the country's national security. In response, Chinese state-controlled media is urging consumers to boycott the Made in South Korea brand, everything from cars to soap operas. One target is Lotte, the conglomerate providing the land for the THAAD missile system base. Lotte operates more than 100 supermarkets in China. Some shoppers seem to be heeding the call to punish the company.
We should boycott. We should teach them a lesson. We Chinese people are not idiots.
Until recently, South Korea has been a popular tourist destination for Chinese visitors. When deployment of the missile system was first proposed a year ago, numbers began to fall. Now some Chinese tour companies are joining the boycott.
Given that our sales have dropped and we see less passers-by, I would say there has been about a 30 to 40% drop in the number of Chinese tourists.
While enjoying South Korea's hospitality, some Chinese tourists are still angry with their hosts.
this action has really affected our Chinese heart. So I think with Chinese people will surely take some actions in China to try to make this thing don't happen.
In China, trade and diplomatic disputes can sometimes turn violent, as happened 5 years ago when the government permitted protests outside Japan's embassy.
China's leaders will not want this anti-South Korean sentiment to get out of control now for a very good reason. The annual session of China's parliament opens on Sunday here in Beijing, and they won't want any distractions. Adrian Brown, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
And now for the weather. Present weather today is partly cloudy. Winds are blowing from the east to northeast at 23 miles per hour. Seas are rough with heights reaching up to 8 feet. A small craft warning remains in effect. The weather forecast today predicts partly sunny skies with a high chance of brief showers possible. The weather forecast predicts that tonight will be partly cloudy with a moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:18 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:27 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.